Hey folks, Jim Sidor, your personal Bible teacher. Just wanted to talk a little bit about Valentine's Day today. And if you knew how evil this particular day is to celebrate, you would never even consider it. Ephesians 5:8 through 11 says, "For ye were sometimes darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of light." Shouldn't be celebrating this evil, proving what is acceptable unto the Lord, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. Here's the Valentine Day story. Every year, Americans flock to the nearest Walmart and spend their hard-earned money on stuff they don't need. $19 billion on Valentine's Day. What? Where does the holiday come from? Why do so many people celebrate it? Valentine's Day is far more sinister than people realize. To find out the true origins, you got to go back to Babylon. It's there we know the person or the personage as Cupid emerges. The name Cupid comes from the Latin verb cuprate, meaning to desire. Cupid was the son of Venus, the Roman goddess of beauty and love. Originally known as Tammuz and Ishtar back in Babylon, this mother and son couple are the progenitors of all pagan religions on earth today. In this ancient Babylonian writing, we know the true identity of Tammuz. Listen to this. The little demons and the great demons cried aloud. You know who the little demons are? You know those little angelic cherubs with their little arrows shooting people and all that? Those are the demons. And they're crying out to Tammuz, our heroic Lord. He was seized away, forsake us not. Tammuz, our Lord, who was seized away, forsake us not. Yeah, Tammuz is being referred to as the Lord of Demons. S. Langdon, I think his name is Samuel Langdon, in a 1914 book that he wrote called Tammuz and Ishtar, he gives us the true identity of Tammuz. The theological lists refer to Tammuz by a title that occurs as frequently as any other. In this title, we have evidence that this deity was connected with serpent worship. And it's true that this connection is to be regarded as prehistoric and was forgotten in the age when the sources began. Not only is Tammuz called the great serpent dragon, but at the same time is more than once applied to the mother goddess herself. Are you starting to get the picture here? The title Sumerian is a god, a name that is apparently regarded by theologians as the most important of all the titles of Tammuz. The name should really be the Great Serpent of Heaven. Who was the Great Serpent of Heaven? Where have you heard that before? Revelation 12:9. And the great dragon was cast out, Tammuz, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, who deceiveth the whole world. No kidding. 19 billion on Valentine's Day. He was cast out into the earth, and the angels were cast out with him. Now, mythology describes Tammuz as having both a cruel, listen to this, and a happy personality. He would use invisible arrows with gold to strike unsuspecting men and women, causing them to fall in love. I mean, is that Cupid or what? And he didn't do this for the benefit of those people, but to drive them crazy with intense passion, making their lives miserable, and then he laughs at the results. Does that sound like somebody who's got your best interest in mind? Tammuz used a love arrow on his own mother, causing her to fall madly in love with him. The mother and son got married, and a story was born. In Babylonian religion, the earth goddess was regarded as the mother and wife of Tammuz. That the son should also be the lover of the goddess is explained on the assumption that in ancient history, imperial power descended through the female line. I hope you're getting this. Write this down. Take notes. In that case, the heir to the throne is the daughter of a king. To retain the throne, the son of a king must marry his sister, or if she is not his sister, he has to marry his own mother. This gets worse. In the Sumerian myth, we have both circumstances represented. In the Egyptian version, Isis is the sister of her husband Osiris. In Sumer, the original myth represented the mother goddess as the mother of Tammuz. So now you know where Cupid comes from. The association between mid-February and the Romans goes back to the pagan festival known as Lupercalia. It was between February 13th and February 15th, honoring Luper, the she-wolf of Rome, who was suckled by Romulus and Remus, or Phanes as their god of fertility. The festivities began with an animal sacrifice and the ritualistic slapping of young women with strips of animal skin and blood to bestow fertility for the coming year. In her book, 1921, The Lupercalia, Alberta Mildred Franklin writes, these occasions are celebrated by the worshippers with extravagant orgies and mourning and joy. In the death and resurrection of the deity, come on now, the people find assurance of human immortality. Much of the homage offered by this agricultural people to its earth goddess consists of fertility charms to arouse the dormant powers of productivity and secure rain for crops. But often, the goddess withholds her blessing and sends barrenness, blight, and pestilence upon her people. Is that a benevolent God? Most people are completely unaware of this link between human sacrifice and Valentine's Day. But let's continue. A guy named Pausanias, an ancient geographer and historian, tells us that a child was sacrificed. His blood sprinkled upon the altar. His entrails were tasted sacramentally by the priest. Thereupon, say the legends, he had tasted of the entrails, was transformed into a werewolf for the period of 9 years. Man! These are all the reasons we should be avoiding celebrating Valentine's Day. But I'm not done yet. As I mentioned, the Romans celebrated Lupercalia to honor the hunter god Lucus. To the Greeks, from whom the Romans had copied most of their mythology, Lupercus was known as Pan, the god of light. Hey, ever hear of the Disney little goddie, Peter Pan? The Phoenicians worshiped the same deity, except they call him Baal, the sun god. Baal was one of many names for titles for Nimrod. Anybody remember Nimrod from Genesis? A mighty hunter, especially of wolves. Defying God, Nimrod was the originator of the Babylonian mystery religions, whose mythologies have been copied by Greeks, Egyptians, Romans, and a multitude of other people around the world, including us. Under different names or titles such as Pan, Saturn, Osiris, Tammuz, Lucas, Nimrod is the strong man in the hunter-warrior myth and the god of the ancients. The title Baal means Lord and Master, and is mentioned throughout the Bible as the god of pagans. God warns his people not to worship or even tolerate the ways of Baal. In the ancient language, which is the original language of the Babylonians, Baal is similar to Baal, B-A-L, meaning heart. So there you have it. Historic proof that the holiday known as Valentine's Day is nothing but an ancient ritual repackaged for modern times. Now, jump forward. In the 5th century, perhaps in an effort to Christianize the pagan festival, Pope Gelasius declared February 14th as St. Valentine's Day. And for the real St. Valentine, there were reportedly several canonized by the church. Legend has it that one St. Valentine, a defiant Roman priest, lived in the 3rd century under the Emperor Claudius II. He was an ambitious ruler. His battles forced vast armies of men to abandon their young families for long periods of time, resulting in a military that was half-hearted and homesick. So determined was Claudius to stop love from sapping the will of his armies, he banned marriage altogether. Celibacy? Anybody hear that? Father Valentine fought the ban as unjust and defied the emperor by continuing to marry young lovers in secret. The emperor eventually caught on to the priest's plot, arrested him, and sentenced him to death. In honor of St. Valentine and the festival of Lupercalia, the festival was then renamed St. Valentine's Day, just to Christianize the whole pagan festival. They made it seem so innocent in the eyes of the people without them even realizing that they're celebrating the festival of Lupercalia. Anybody hear of Satan being the father of deceit? Until this date, a lot of Christians and members of other religions are still enjoying Valentine's Day. Listen to what Ezekiel says about a pagan festival. Ezekiel 8:13 through 15. He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and you shall see greater abominations than these. People, if you're a Christian, you've got to be aware of what is accepted in the world as friendly. Valentine's Day is just another pagan holiday incorporated into the Christianity faith by the Romans. Whether you're aware or not, the Romans don't worship and honor our Jesus Christ. They aren't Christians. They're pagan God worshippers. All their honor and praises go to the father of lies, Lucifer. Now that you know the truth, you got to celebrate this pagan holiday or not. That's your decision. Don't be afraid to share this podcast with others. This is truth, people. All right? And you got to know it. Stop spending your money on this junk. This is Jim Sidor. I'm your personal Bible teacher. Have a great Valentine's Day.